Hello and welcome to another Education Centre lesson, and good evening to you too, Jonathan.
Hi, good evening.
Good to see you again. Chris is a bit sick today, so Johnny is going to be filling his shoes, and good on him too. Me and Johnny go way back, all the way back to Sydney, Australia. Actually, Johnny and me are also both from the Sydney group, and we moved here, so we've got quite a lot of friendship under our belt. Now I hear there's a lot of questions. Well, there are a lot of questions coming in from Facebook. I'm not sure if they've all been answered, but what we're going to do, Jonathan is going to take a look at those questions as we go along, and then we'll try to answer them as best we can. All right. In the meantime, obviously, you can still ask questions regarding the topic that we're going to study. We're going to study today from a book called Shamati. Shamati in Hebrew, it means I heard. And this is a very, very important book. It's a very fundamental book for us because all the articles in here refer to a person's inner work. So all the scrutinies that I need to do in order to connect with my spiritual personal development are touched upon in that book, in those articles there. And what we're going to study today is a very, very special article. In fact, it's the fundamental of Kabbalah, really one of the pillar stones, the fundamental articles that we have in Kabbalah. And actually this one article on its own really describes the whole approach to reality, to the study of Kabbalah, and to understanding where we're at and where we should be, and in which kind of work style that we should be heading towards. And that's called There Is None Else Besides Him. Now that article is the first article in that book, Shamati. So if you don't have one, I really recommend you get one. In fact, you should have a few of the fundamental books that we have, which is Kabbalah for the Student, Social Writings from Rabash, and also this lovely book called Shamati by Baal HaSulam. So, first of all, a little introduction about this article. As you know, when we're living life and we're moving with the flow until our dot in the heart really awakens and we start to, really search for the meaning of life, we kind of begin to wonder how things are happening and why they're happening. And we always have this question, why me, when things go wrong? Well, that why me, famous why me question is answered in this article. And when we're studying Kabbalah, if in fact not just studying Kabbalah, in everything that we do in life, we can relate to everything to find the correct direction so we can advance properly in life and in spirituality. This article will allow us actually to start relating to the whole of creation in a more focused, proper way in which we can actually build that dialogue with everything that's happening to us in life. And this is why it's very important, because this is actually what we want to attain. We want to attain the thought behind everything that's really happening to us. And that's actually called the thought of the Creator, isn't it? So once again, we're a desire to receive. Let's take a little recap. We're a desire to receive, and the purpose of creation is for the Creator to give us everything that He has, so we can actually elevate ourselves in capacity, in fulfillment, in everything that we do to His level. Okay, so the purpose of creation is to be just like the Creator. And in order to do that, we have to build ourselves to kind of fit that. Just like a child grows in this world and he becomes an adult, and then he has to kind of match himself to this world in order to survive and take care of himself or take care of his family and kids if he has them. Same in the spiritual world. What we have to do is we have to kind of build this approach of relating to our spiritual development, so that what we can do is, as we grow up and as we advance in spirituality, we can actually take care of ourselves and actually take care of the whole of reality in that level of attainment, just like the Creator. So what we're going to do today is going to read a little bit. But before we start reading, what we're going to do, what you should have done maybe as well, what you should start to do actually before every lesson, you should read something to prepare yourself for the lesson. Okay, so we're going to do that as an example today with you. Okay, as you know, I wasn't here for 5 weeks, so if I was, we would have been doing this every lesson, in the beginning of every lesson, so we kind of prepare ourselves for the lesson. Okay, so I'm just going to open anything random. It doesn't matter what we read. The important thing is to kind of prepare ourselves for the lesson, to think about what I want from this lesson, to think, why am I sitting here and why am I studying Kabbalah? What do I want to get from this? Because only crazy people and little children don't know why they do things. So in Kabbalah, what we have to do is we have to build a habit which must become a second nature, and that before we do everything, we must know why we're doing it. Okay? Otherwise, we'll live like an animal or a child or a madman, and that's obviously not what we want to be, is it, Johnny?
No.
No, not at all. Not. So we're going to read from Shamati just to prepare ourselves. On page 276, it's Shamati 118, and it's a short little article just for the preparation. There is the discernment of a wife, and there's a discernment of a husband. A wife is considered that she has nothing but what her husband gives her, and a husband is considered extending abundance into his own aspect. Knees are considered bowing, as it is written, unto me every knee shall bow. Now, when we're reading this article, don't let your head go to a couple. None of the books in authentic Kabbalistic sources are relating to things that matter in this world. So when we're talking about a husband and a wife, we're talking about a person's desire to receive, which is called a female, and his intention to bestow, which is called a male. Okay? This is why in life we have two forces, plus and minus, and this is why we have men and women, and as a couple they complement each other. So a desire to receive plus the intention makes a couple. All right? So there's something we've learned today. So when we're reading Kabbalistic books and they talk about husband and wife, you know what to think about. Okay? It's about the desire to receive and the intention that goes with it. So let's start our lesson today. Before we come to the wisdom of Kabbalah, our life is pretty basic, isn't it? This is my life. I live in this world, and I have things that influence me in my life. I have family, work, I don't know, media, friends. Friends are actually very hard to come by nowadays. So if you have them, it's great. So family, work, media, friends. We might have other things as well, like health. We might have, I don't know, what else can you think about? Things that relate to us. We might have natural disasters. Okay, anything that happens in life. Okay, natural disasters. From traffic jams to strawberry jam at breakfast, everything that we go through in life kind of affects us, and we get emotions from everything. We get a feeling from everything, and from the things that we feel in life, what we begin to do is develop experience, develop impressions, and develop an intellectual capacity to kind of get along with the environment. At this point, when a person starts to ask the meaning of life, why we're living, because he has a point in the heart, he needs to start relating to life a little differently than the ordinary Tom, Dick and Harry out there on the street. So when a person comes to Kabbalah, he has two parts, not one. One of them is called the dot in the heart, which is our spiritual inclination. And the other one is, let me move this way, yeah, that's better. And the other one is my animalistic being. Okay? So in Kabbalah we call our body the animal because it lives like an animal. You feed it, you give it rest, You give it what it needs to live, just like an animal does, and it stays alive. That's all. And on top of that, we have our social desires for money, honor, control, knowledge. Okay? But the dot in the heart is a very special little inclination inside of us. The dot in the heart says to us, listen, everything I'm living in life doesn't really give me much taste. So I don't really know what to do with myself. Okay, so this dot in the heart asks me, why am I living? What for? What's the meaning of life? These kind of questions that creep up in us. All right? So you already know these two discernments from previous lessons. Now what we have to do is this. How am I going to take the whole of my life, the dot in the heart plus my corporeal life, and kind of blend it in such a way that I can relate correctly to reality in order to attain the Creator? And that's going to be our job. So let's read a little bit, and then we will move forward. So we're going to read from Shamati, but I've got the text already printed out because we're not going to read the whole thing. The article, There's None Else Besides Him, is quite long. Okay, so we won't have time to finish the whole article. However, I do recommend that you read it. It's about 5 pages, and we won't be able to explain, read, and go through the whole thing together. So we'll read little by little, and you ask questions, and then we'll try to answer your Facebook questions as well. Okay, but you know what? Let's watch a clip from the Rav first. So Hezi, can you play us a clip, please?
Why do we always need to go, first of all, to the side of everything appearing bad? I will tell you a secret, only to you. We are in a wonderful reality. Everything is good and benevolent, pleasant, calm, fulfillment. It's truly filled with everything. And you don't feel anything in this. You are disconnected. You don't have any recognition or feeling or anything. Because it's just one thing. And in the one thing, without connection with its opposite, you have no connection to it because you're the created being. How did the Creator, which you're within, how can He reveal to you where you are? It's considered to reveal to you Himself. Or, similarly, to reveal you. How? Only by beginning to awaken in your state some bad things. As against them, you will feel that you're in the good. That's what He does. Otherwise, you will have no feelings. All that is revealed, all the different forms that are opposites, is only to feel more the good.
Right, yeah. So, Rav touched on a bit of a topic called the perception of reality, and basically this article will allow us to get to feel also a new level of perception of reality. So what we're going to do is read a little bit, and we'll go along and we'll answer all your questions regarding this topic, okay? So don't be shy. And I see we have friends from Turkey, we have friends from Zimbabwe, we have friends from Florida, Germany,
South Africa,
yeah,
Romania, Ghana, United States, UK. We have friends from all around the world here. Turkey,
yeah, correct.
Spain, Holland, Iranian living in Turkey. Someone who's Iranian. Spain,
okay,
Portugal.
That's Miriam, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Spain, Portugal, El Salvador, Serbia, and Johannesburg.
Lovely. So we've got
City
people,
I'm from.
Lovely. Yeah, that's right. Johnny's originally South African. Great.
Don't hold it against me.
No way. So we've got friends from all over the world. That's good, actually. Africa, Europe, South and North America. It's great. The more you'll see that the more you study with us, you'll see that we have friends from all over the world, and it's really actually really amazing to study with everyone from around the world, because when you discover them, and actually we're going to have a congress in February. If you have the opportunity to come, definitely pop over. You'll see everyone from all around the world, and you will have the same thing in common with them, and that's how you got here. Okay, because everyone seems to get here with the same standard procedure. So in February, I'll give you a heads up if they haven't mentioned it already. There's a congress here. It'll be nice to have you around. So let's read a little bit. It is written, there is none else besides him. This means that there is no other force in the world that has the ability to do anything against him. And what man sees, that there are things in the world that deny the higher household. The reason is that this is his will. And it is deemed a correction, called the left rejects and the right adducts, meaning that which the left rejects is considered correction. This means that there are things in the world which, to begin with, aim to divert a person from the right way, and through them he is rejected from sanctity. This was from Divinity in Exile, which is also a Shamati article on page 189. So basically what is Baal Salam telling us here? Baal Salam wrote these articles like 100 years ago maybe. Actually, these articles are the words of Baal Salam which his student Rabash took note of. We call them Baal Salam's articles because this is what Rabash heard, and that's why the book is called I Heard, Shamati. So this is what he heard from Baal Salam, and he wrote them down. And what he's trying to explain to us is a very, very fundamental principle. He's saying that there is one force only in the whole of reality, which we've discovered that, which we learned about, is the Creator. And the Creator has done something, a bit of a trick on us. He's playing a little trick on us. We don't feel him or see him in this world. All of us are here. Okay, so there's 7.5 billion of us. And what he has done is he created a reality to us, and he kind of hid himself behind that reality. And what he's doing is he's just applying all kinds of things on top of us here. He's basically playing with us. Okay? And everything that happens to a person, everything from the smallest thought you get to the most smallest action you do, everything is governed by this one force called the Creator. This is why it says there is none other force acting in the world except the Creator. So you might ask the question, well, what are we then? Are we doing anything? Well, we'll get there. But the fundamental principle is, if I want to kind of direct myself in order to build a relationship with the Creator, I have to kind of tune into what the Kabbalists are saying. If in reality there is one force acting on me and doing everything to me, from everything that I want, I think about, all my movements, even when I'm talking now, it seems like I'm talking, but is it really me, or is somebody just pulling the strings? We don't really know, do we? Kabbalists are saying, well, we should come to know. But before we come to know, they're saying there is such a situation where the whole of reality is governed by the Creator, this one force, and there is nothing else we can, well, there's nothing we can do to kind of do anything about it, basically. Okay? So how are we going to grow from a situation if there is really me not doing anything? So it's like seemingly I don't exist. Well, the beautiful thing about it is, even though the Kabbalists are saying the Creator is doing everything, the lovely thing is I don't feel that to be true. because the Creator is concealed. It feels like I'm doing things. It feels like I'm thinking. And according to what I'm thinking and what I'm wanting, I'm doing things. So because we don't feel the Creator to be existing and governing everything, including all our actions, we feel that we're doing everything. This little dilemma that we have is because we don't see the truth. However, from that point of feeling the sensation that we are doing something, we can do something, gives us the ability to use our freedom of will, where we can start to kind of find the only one place where we can do something. This is important because otherwise we'll never get to advance as a human. Okay? So, here is the Creator. He is doing everything upon me. All my thoughts, actions, desires, everything. But I don't see Him. Instead, I see this world. And from this world, I do things. Now, if I have a dot in the heart, what I need to do with this concept of there's none else besides Him is to grow this desire for spirituality. And the only way I can really grow it is by finding a place where I can act independently. Okay? That is the point of independence in this life. If I don't have that, there's nothing to talk about. This is why we don't explain Kabbalah to people who don't have a dot in the heart. If he's not questioning his life, if he's not wondering why he's living, if it's not really bugging him, there's nothing really to talk about. So a person who has a dot in the heart already has a sensation, which all of you I'm sure had as well, that there was something kind of like with you along the way. Okay, kind of like a kid holding his dad's or mum's hand or whatever. All right, in life, when a person has this dot in the heart, there's a sensation that there is something that's this force accompanying him. So this is why it's easy for us to relate to this concept of there's none else besides Him. So what do I need to do in order to kind of develop from this situation where everything is done by the Creator? Well, I have to find out, like I said, exactly where to give my effort. Okay? And that's the whole idea. And that's the whole idea of studying Kabbalah. Now, let's have some questions, Johnny.
Okay. All right. So, got very types of questions here, Mutlu. Firstly, Paradze from Zimbabwe. Hi, Paradze, if that's how you pronounce it. Ask the question, none else besides Him. Does Him refer to a physical being? Why Him?
Him is the Creator, and there's no physicality about it. It's just a force acting in reality. It's called a Him because in life there are two forces, exactly what we read in Shemati for the preparation of the lesson, right? In life there are two forces. What did the article in the Shemati article say? Man and his wife. So there is a force in life that's called bestowing, and that bestowing force is called the male force. That's why it's called the Creator. And in life there is also the receiving, the desire to receive, and that's called the female. So just like in life, everything that's reflected in this world is kind of it is a reflection of the spiritual worlds. So in spiritual world, He, or positive, or the Creator, is known as the force of bestowal. In other words, the bestowing intention. And that's why he's called a he. And a female is known as a desire to receive. Okay? And this has nothing to do with sexes. So we're men here, but we're also a desire to receive. So in spirituality, if you're a desire to receive, okay, you're a female. But in spirituality, if you have a desire to receive with an intention to bestow, at that level you are called a man. Okay? 19th of November was actually Men's Day, wasn't it? I think it was.
Okay.
Yeah, you're the man, Johnny. Any other questions?
Yeah. Okay, Mutlu, there's a very, very practical question. I think all of us go through this ourselves. Around the topic of none else besides him. And it's quite a challenging one, but it's practical day-to-day stuff.
Okay.
So Jose Carlos from Atiade in Spain, Portugal asks, since I started Kabbalah, each time I pass for some kind of problem with someone, I think to use this to correct myself, to see where I was wrong and fix it. But if someone is too much of a pain in the
backside,
right, and it seems that the only problem is that he doesn't like you. You still should think that it is you who has to correct. ? How to react with these kind of people?
That's a good question. Because when we start in Kabbalah, it's always a dilemma. What am I going to do with my whole life? Okay, but first of all, we have to think of ourselves like kids growing up in the kindergarten. Okay, so we don't take kids in the kindergarten to work and say, hey, you have to do the company's accounts, or you have to start doing something in HR or whatever. They're kids, they don't understand. So we have to think of ourselves like right now, we don't really understand what's going on. So the Kabbalists are very pragmatic guys, and they say to us, you know what? Don't make a big mess. What you need really is this. Split your life in two. Here is Jose with his corporeal life. Okay? And here is the real Jose in the spiritual life. Okay? Now what we need to focus on is the real Jose. And that's this guy here. Now what you do in corporeality, you deal with it just like you would have dealt with it before you came to Kabbalah. So everything that happens in the corporeal, deal with it as usual. Okay, so if he's giving you a hard time, shake him up a little bit. Okay? Obviously don't go to jail. Alright? When I say shake him up, I'm just talking in general ways. So corporeality, things that are related to corporeality, like work, health, family, friends. Okay, so if somebody's giving you a hard time, just avoid them or don't befriend them. Okay, because right now we're not in a situation where we're seeing the whole of reality, and I can't really expect to understand what I'm supposed to correct with this person. It's impossible to see the whole of reality when we're just toddlers. Okay, right now we're toddlers and we're playing around with these little plastic toys that they gave us, and that's what we're doing in the group. So what you need to do is deal with corporeality like you would under normal circumstances, under corporeal situations, and the rest of your efforts should go into investing into the environment where you can grow your dot in the heart. And environment is the Rav. Okay, so we have a guide. Rav means guide. Okay, we have the books like we're reading right now, Shamati, and then we have the friends. This is called an environment. So what I have to do is kind of put myself inside this environment where I can grow my spirituality. And then all the things you feel in that environment are related to your spirituality. So don't worry about the guy outside. Worry about the issues you might have popping up inside of you when you're with the friends in the group. Because they're the ones that are really connected to your spiritual development. Because spirituality is in the connection between what? The dots in the heart. It's not in the connection between these corporeal people. Why? Because between corporeal individuals, what works is the ego. But when you're with the friends, and they also have a dot in the heart, what happens here is something really, really nice, because you're relating to, okay, bestowal. So here is the ego and here is bestowal. And because we're trying to relate to each other, we're not getting it right. That's for sure. We're failing all the time. Yes, okay, fine. Not a big deal. But we're trying. So by trying to connect with each other in a bestowing way, in a loving way, then all the discernments that pop up in you become spiritual discernments. Why? Because it's related to the goal. So everything that I'm focused on towards the goal will give me impressions that are focused on the goal. So split up your environment into two. Deal with corporeality like you normally would, and forget the rest. Yes, Johnny, any other questions?
There's a couple of questions regarding to the point in the heart.
Yeah.
Okay. Excuse me. Sorry. We have some tissues there.
Bless you,
good.
Johnny.
Thanks, Mutlu. Okay, so there's two questions here.
Yeah.
First of all, from Paradze from Zimbabwe, asks a point in the heart.
Mm-hmm.
Now that I've found myself here, how exactly am I developing the sixth sense? How do the books help me draw the light? In addition, Titiana from Florida asks, I know we are running on 5 senses. How many senses can a person open?
Okay, listen. It's nice. You guys have nice questions. What can I tell you? Okay, when life gets a little complicated, the best way to solve it is to get back to the fundamentals. Okay? We are a desire to receive pleasure. Okay? That's what we are. The creator is the desire to bestow. And what we have to do is build a relationship between us. So in reality, there are only 3 things. The creator who wants to bestow, the creature who wants to receive, and the third thing is how we're going to arrange this relationship so that we can be equal in this relationship and nobody feels lower than the other one. Okay, because when somebody is giving something to us, we generally feel lower because we're receiving. So how am I going to be in this reality living in such a way that I actually feel exactly like the creator even though I'm receiving from him? Well, that's called the intention. This intention to bestow to the creator is also called the soul. Okay, because we might think soul is something like a little cloud floating around like in Hollywood movies, but it's not really. A soul is my intention, and when I live inside that intention, that becomes living in your soul. It might be a little airy-fairy at the moment, but when you advance with us, you'll see that although we have a body, when your mind is on the intention, you're actually living somewhere not connected to the body. All right? It's a very special feeling. That feeling is called the sixth sense, the soul, when you're kind of in this split. Okay? So that's what we need to build. And that's also sometimes called the sixth sense. Just like we have 5 senses in our corporeal body, our soul also has 5 senses, and they're called Keter, Chokhmah, Bina, Zerampin, and Malchut, which are also known as the 10 Sephirot, which we're going to learn about, so don't rush me, okay? We're going to learn about it. I'm just asking you a question. We'll get into it later, but just know that the soul also has 5 senses. Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, Miriam, who lives in Turkey from Iran, asks, Mariam, I hope the pronunciation is correct. There's a confusing question for me. As we know, Adam Rishon, he split into 600,000 parts, and each part consists of 613 desires. Is any of this part belong to one person? If yes, how is it possible we have more than 7 billion people around the world, and for each person is considered one soul?
That's a good question. Okay, when we're talking about 600,000, we're not talking about a population. Okay, we are talking, the Kabbalists, it's hard to grasp when we're just starting, because we think there's 600,000 people and they're doing something and so forth. But 600,000 is actually the force in the world of Absolute known as Arichampin. Okay, it's a numeric way of describing the force of bestowal in the world of Atzilut, and that's why it's called 600,000. Okay, so don't let your heads. Okay, let's have a little understanding. Okay, when we're talking about spirituality, Kabbalah, unless I say it has to do with corporeality, don't stick corporeality in there, because it's got nothing to do with it. Okay, there is only me, but inside me I have millions of cells, millions of tendons and blood flowing, blood cells, bones, organs, all kinds of connections inside me. So that make me up. And inside of me, there's probably much more than 7.5 billion connections. But all of that makes one mutlu. All right, just one me. So think of the whole of humanity as being parts of a single creature, right now completely disconnected, but have to connect in order to feel this whole oneness. Okay? So think of it like I'm in a coma and I have no idea what's going on in the world, but slowly I'm waking up. And that slowly waking up motion are the people with the dots in the heart. Okay? They're the ones that are kind of waking up in humanity. So once these dots in the heart start to awaken, what happens is a ripple effect. Okay? And as this ripple effect happens, we all start to connect. And when we connect at a higher level of consciousness, what happens is that all of our relationships become a relationship of giving instead of taking. And when you have a relationship of giving and connecting, everybody is giving and connecting, giving and taking from each other, then this whole mechanism becomes one global, one feeling and sensation. It's very hard to describe to you guys, because this is the fundamentals course and we're doing the 8th lesson right now. So what we're talking about here is something like, in down the rabbit hole, okay, pretty much. But just try to imagine to yourself this picture, that we have a lot of cells, a lot of organs, a lot of things that are happening in our body, but we don't actually feel it, do we? Nobody really would have felt that he has kidneys or liver or a stomach or whatever until we were cut up. Okay? Because it doesn't feel like I have those organs. Well, kind of like humanity is like that too. I don't really feel like I have this connected world around me that makes me feel nice and comfortable. So we have to start, slowly as you advance, that understanding is going to become deeper and deeper and deeper. And you'll see that from life, it's actually very, very practical to kind of draw out your spiritual development and your spiritual sensations and feelings, even though spirituality is completely disconnected from the sensations of this world.
Okay, there is a question here which is strongly related to the the question of none else besides him. Like, why do we come to the wisdom of Kabbalah? Okay. Paradzai, excuse my pronunciation, from Zimbabwe says, dot in the heart. Is it accidental that one comes to Kabbalah, or is it a calling?
There are no accidents here. Hopefully we'll carry on with you guys in the next semester, and we'll go into a bit more detail about the whole process of creation and how everything was designed, created and paved even before we were here. Okay, so we'll come to that, but there are no accidents. Yeah.
There's some other questions here, Mutlu. One is about a friend. Nida from Serbia is asking, friend, is that someone who has the same goal like you?
That's right. That's right. A friend in the group means the person who wants to attain the purpose of life with me. We have a mutual understanding about our goal, and according to that goal, we know how to treat each other. Okay, we understand the process we're going through. Now, God forbid, we're not telling the people on the outside who are not studying with us, they're not your enemies, or I'm not saying they're not your friends. I'm just talking about a friend in the group needs to be in the same direction, so we can work together and advance together.
Okay. Neela from maybe someone else. Paul from the UK asks, should our intention be focused on the friends?
Well, right now we don't really know what intention is, or even what the friends are, who the friends are, because we're all in this little virtual world right now studying. But what we should start to slowly think about is, how are we going to advance together? Because at the end of the day, we came to study Kabbalah, right? So we want to study Kabbalah, we want to know what it is. And when a person comes to Kabbalah and he wants to know what the wisdom of Kabbalah is, he's not really thinking about, the friends. He wants to know what he's going to get from this study, which is rightfully so. And that's how we should actually be thinking, because this is the kind of direction that you want to take to clarify if this is right for you or not. So what we want to do is first, through the study, clarify and understand what this wisdom is and make a decision. The decision is, should I stay or should I go? Once you decide to stay, if you decide to stay, then what you have to do is, it's like marriage, right? Take the good and the bad together, and then you start thinking about the friends. But that's a process, okay? It's a process that takes time. It's a process that's also very, very enlightening, because you begin to feel all the changes in your nature, because you begin to think of people that you don't have any connection with. They're not your family, they're not your wife, they're not your kids. They're like, guys you just met. But very interesting things happen. You begin to feel your nature starts to change. But that will happen along the way. So the first thing that we need to do in the fundamentals course is really get our heads around the topics and really make a sound foundation. So what we really like to give all our students in the fundamentals is those pillar stones where we can build our intellectual approach to the study in a solid way. Because when we get into the practical stuff, it's going to be an emotional joyride. Okay? We're going to be going up and down all the time. And the only thing that's really going to help you when you're going through these ups and downs, all these like confusions and inner discernments, are the fundamental, that foundation intellectually you built about how you need to study. All right, so keep your focus first on really learning these fundamental concepts. Let's read a little bit, but you know what? Before we read, we have another clip. So Hezi, can you give us that second clip, please?
Joseph from Jerusalem is asking, what does it mean to connect what's happening to the upper? How do we do this? He should read the article which we have called There's None Else Besides Him. I don't know how to answer that. Connecting everything to the Creator means that I have no thoughts, desires, meaning mind and heart. I have no decisions in them, and between them, I have no actions with what appears to me as the others. There's no reality other than me relating everything to Him, even myself. And I have a point in the heart, and as a result of that, in the mind, from which I can do scrutiny upon the fact that other than this point, everything belongs to Him. And all my work is also to associate that point to Him too. Meaning, that part which I have from Him, that point, from which I look at myself and discover all that happens in me which is from Him, from the Creator, in what I define this, reveal this, by giving Him room to clothe in me, meaning in my corrected vessels. So in this, I eventually also return this point to the point in the heart, to adherence. And the whole body, the whole mind and heart are in order to bring this point to adherence.
There we go. All right. So this is how we need to relate to things, and how we really need to relate to things. Now, in the beginning, when Rav really explained it nice and easy, but it might be a little confusing to relate everything to the Creator, and also to kind of dissect that dot in the heart, and also do everything to relate that to the Creator, but in another way, in a bestowal way. Okay, but this will happen in time. So nobody kind of make things happen. Nobody can make things happen in one day. It's not an overnight job, although sometimes we wish it were. However, as we study, as you move along with us, you'll see that it becomes like a good flow. All right. So let's read a little bit more. You should also read this article on your own after the lesson. Like until the next week, you should really finish this article. It's only 5 pages in the book. It's also on our website. Reading. Okay, let's go. Then he comes to the decision that only the Creator Himself can help. This causes him to make a heartfelt demand for the Creator to open his eyes and heart and truly bring him nearer to eternal adhesion with the Creator. It thus follows that all the rejections he had experienced came from the Creator. This means that it was not because he was at fault that he did not have the ability to overcome, that he had those rejections. Rather, for those people who truly want to draw near the Creator, and so they will not settle for little, so they will not remain as senseless children, he is therefore given help from above. So, given help from above. So he will not be able to say, thank God I have spirituality and good deeds, and what else do I need? And only if that person has a true desire will he receive help from above. And he is constantly shown that he is at fault in the present state. Namely, one is sent thoughts and views that are against the work. This is so he would see that he is not one with the Creator, And as much as he overcomes, he always sees how he is further from holiness than others who feel that they are one with the Creator. But he, on the other hand, always has complaints and demands, and he cannot justify the Creator's behavior and how he behaves with him. This pains him. Why is he not one with the Creator? Finally, he comes to feel that he has no part in holiness whatsoever. All right. Now, this is an important passage and it's a little complicated, but here it is in a nutshell, so listen up. When we're studying Kabbalah, we're going to go through a lot of dramas, and all of those dramas are going to make us feel like we want to run away from Kabbalah. Okay? And the Creator does all of that, and he does it with a good purpose. Because through going through these ups and downs, I actually begin to build this relationship with the Creator, because I begin to relate to who is sending these to me. And I begin to think about, why is he sending these things to me? Okay? So a lot of people leave Kabbalah because things get a little wavy. So this spiritual work is really for people who love surfing. Right? And when things are going up and down, what we need to do really is think about, well, what does the Creator want from me? And this is the important thing that many people don't do. This is called inner work. This whole book, Shamati, is about me working internally and thinking and scrutinizing and kind of dissecting everything that's happening to me in order to relate it to the Creator. And then through all these issues that I'm going to go through, I'm going to come to a conclusion. I'm going to say, I'm never going to attain this. Okay? That's exactly the kind of sensation you should get to. It's called despair. Okay? However, despair is very good, because we're a desire to receive, like I drew here. Okay? We're a desire to receive. Here we are. But the Creator wants to give us not what we want, what he wants. Doesn't seem very fair, but think about it. The Creator wants to give us perfection. We want to run around in the world and have fun, but he's saying, don't be little kids. Okay? Grow up a little bit, just like we tell our children. So he brings a bit of hardship to us, so that we can want what he wants to give us, that higher level of attainment, to be in perfection, in eternity, right? So in order to want what he wants to give us, we have to go through these things so we can demand what he wants to give us. Am I getting through? If it's a little complicated, let me know. But the whole process should bring us from this initial dot in the heart to really want to discover spirituality. And along the way, I'm going to see that I don't really want spirituality at all. Okay? This is what's going to happen. So he's telling us about it. The whole idea of Kabbalistic texts is this. They tell us what's going to happen to us before it happens to us. Okay? Isn't that great? Because then we don't have any surprises. Now, the reason they say that is because so they kind of prepare us, just like we prepare kids to life, and we explain to them, before you cross the road, just make sure it's green, and even if it's green, you better make sure that car is stopping. Okay? So the Kabbalists are also explaining the same thing to us. He's saying, listen, when you're studying with the group, just be mindful. Things can be a little shaky, but even though you're studying in order to get spiritual, you might find yourself really far away from spirituality, but that's actually okay, because that's how you can turn to the Creator and ask for some help. Because if you don't ask for help, you're really never going to have a relationship, because asking for help means I want something, because I'm a desire to receive, And because I want what he wants to give me, I bring upon myself his influence. And that's how we start to feel the Creator. Because if I don't invite him, he's never going to come. Okay? That's logical, right? If I don't invite Johnny for a cup of coffee, he's not going to come, is he? I mean, well, sometimes he does, but okay, generally, if I don't invite someone for a dinner, they're not going to come for dinner. So here we need to invite the Creator. So through all our study, we wanted to, really try to get our hands on spirituality. But because we're so different from the Creator, we're so egotistic, and we want spirituality so egotistically, the Creator just doesn't, he's just not around. So he gives us a lot of dramas that we just need to play out like a game, so that we can actually attune ourselves to how we can build this relationship with him. All right, so any other questions there, Johnny?
Yeah, there's some good questions here. Jeff from London is asking, is the physical plane a direct representation of the spiritual?
Yeah, it is, because we learned previously, I'm not sure if you guys learned previously, but roots and branches. You did?
Yes.
Everything okay, great. Everything that happens in our world, in our perception of reality. Our world means our perception of reality. Okay? Everything that happens here is because there are roots, which equals causes. Okay, causes, and our world is the world of consequences. So everything that happens here is because there was a force acting here. Okay? In other words, somebody's pulling our strings, but we don't feel it. Okay? This is what this article is talking about. There's a force that's doing everything, and even though I think I'm doing something, I'm not doing anything. However, by studying Kabbalah with a dot in my heart, I can begin to start doing something. And about the people who are out on the street, there's nothing really to talk about. They just live thinking they're doing something, when in fact nobody's doing anything. Because think about it. If the Creator wants to bring us to a final goal, he's not really going to leave anything to the initiative of people out there on the street, is he? In order to leave the kids to a babysitter, the babysitter needs to be grown up and an intelligent person. You can't leave the babies to another baby, can you? Okay, same here. So the Creator is running the show, and when we have an inclination called the dot in the heart and we study, we can then discover what we can do in reality, what we can impact. Other than that, we don't impact anything. There's nothing really to talk about. Yeah.
Paul has asked this question. I think you'll like it, Mutlu.
Yes. Is that a tricky question then?
These dramas that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Are they in the corporate life, or just in the group?
They're going to be everywhere. They're going to be everywhere. Look, when you're studying Kabbalah, at the end of the day, you're going to work, right? So you go to work, and you're going to have dramas at work. Okay, it's just going to happen. There's just no getting out of it. In the family, at work, I don't know, with your girlfriend, wife, whatever. There's always going to be a drama, but you have to look at the bright side of life, as they say, okay? Because in everything the Creator is doing, he's just trying to draw us closer to him. So although we're looking at life, when we have a problem, we're really like, ugh, but the whole idea is we have to start changing our attitude to problems. We have to start looking at things, how is the Creator trying to help me with this problem? How much more now can I add to my spiritual work? Because when I have a problem, what he's showing me is, listen up, is that I'm falling behind. That's why I'm getting problems. Okay? And a lot of people don't like that idea, but he doesn't care whatever we like or not, because he wants to grow us up. Right? Just like we want to grow our kids up. We're not really interested in all their silly desires if they're not going to help them grow up. Same here. Whether we feel good or bad, the Creator is not interested in it. So he wants to grow us up. And when I have a problem, you can bet your life on it that it was because I was slack somewhere and he needed to give me a little push. And that push is called a drama. Okay?
What do you mean by falling behind, Mutlu? Because this is something I think we all experience in the wisdom of Kabbalah, that there is change happening, and sometimes there's certain pressures. So what do you actually mean by falling behind?
Falling behind means this.
I'm interested as well.
Okay, good. Okay, man.
That's my question.
Stick around, you'll get an education. What happens is this, guys. I'm supposed to be at this level, but I haven't done what I should, and I'm at this level. So the Creator is looking at me thinking, well, this guy is 15 years old and he needs to behave like a 15 years old, but he's behaving like a 5-year-old. So he's going to have to give me a crash course to cover that 10-year gap and raise me to the age of 15. That crash course is not going to be jolly. Okay, he's going to be pushing me hard. And this is how it is. But if we take it on board, then you don't feel it like a big drama, because it's not a big drama until I turn it into a big drama. What does that mean? If I just slightly start to feel the pinch, right, rather than the problem being severe, if I just start to feel like, oh, you know what, something's coming, I better run forward. Okay, if I can start to like kind of sharpen up my senses, then what I can do is, as soon as he's like gently beginning to pinch, let alone give me a drama, I can start doing what I'm supposed to do. So he's just pushing us to the level that we should be at. So what should you do when you have dramas and this and that? You need to add where you can to your spiritual work, to your spiritual advancement. Okay, you need to think, you need to sit down and think, okay, where can I add to my spiritual advancement? Because the Creator wants to bring me to somewhere, and we see that it's this attribute of bestowal, so we can be like Him. We can be at a very high level. And, well, what do I need to do? What else can I do?
That relates to this question, Mutlu, nicely, that Andre from South Africa is asking. Given that's the case, how do I invite the Creator again into my spiritual work or into my life? If I feel separated, getting these sometimes blows, difficulties, how do I invite the Creator again?
You need to stick your head inside the environment. This is why I mentioned here the environment. It is very important. It is your only free choice, actually, here. This action of putting myself in this environment is my only freedom of choice, guys, which we will get into, so don't dig into it now. We're gonna get into the freedom of will in the future. It's a huge topic. It's a very important topic, but just think about it. If there are only two ways to live, corporeal and spiritual, and if I have a part in both of them, me in my corporeal life with my corporeal body, with my corporeal desires, and on the other hand, I've got my dot in the heart with an inclination to spirituality. especially exactly at this split where I have two like equal opposite forces and I'm stuck right in between them, that's where I can have choice. So before a person has a dot in the heart, he has no choice. He's just living life and he's going to end up in, well, rest and peace scenario. So for us to kind of, what we need to do whenever we feel that little pinch, we need to put ourselves into the environment so we can suck a lot out of it, as much as we can out of it, in order to pump this dot in the heart ever more bigger. Because the reason we need to make it constantly bigger is our egoism is not standing still. Our egoism every day is also growing with that dot in the heart. They're growing together. So the moment I'm slack in my spirituality, my egoism is going to be stronger and it's going to pound him. And that's where I'm going to feel suffering. This is why I need to kind of like bring it back up again. So it's very, very important to make sure that you have a spiritual environment where you can kind of integrate yourself day by day into this process. Yes, Johnny.
Yeah, the questions, I think there's some good questions here on free will. Based on what you're saying, Motlu, Jeff from London's asking, is free will then just an illusion? And also Parazzi from Zimbabwe says, free will, how is it that I have free will when the Creator is acting everything in my world?
Guys, you don't have any free will right now. Nothing. Right now the Creator is doing us a favor. He brought us here to the environment and he's saying, hey, here's a taste of spirituality if you want it. Freedom of will is going to happen down the line when you guys make a decision. That decision is going to be, this is why I said to, was it Paul? I don't know, I answered someone and I said, this is where, you're going to have to make a decision. Should I stay or should I go? Once you make a decision and if you want to stay, then you're going to have a lot of opportunity for freedom of will. Because trust me, when you're in between bestowal and reception, and you're stuck in between these two things, that's where your freedom of will is. Otherwise, you don't have a freedom of will. If I'm a desire to receive pleasure for myself, if that's my program, what free will can I possibly have except what to choose to eat from a menu in a restaurant? That's the only freedom of will people have. What they want to eat, what they want to wear, where they want to go. It's not freedom of will because I'm making a calculation for my desire to receive. I can only have freedom of choice if I'm in between two opposite forces. So we have to develop this dot in the heart and we have to make it felt in us so that I can say, you know what? Even though I don't want to go there, I'm going to go there. Because freedom of will actually is doing things when I really, really don't want to do them. I'm talking about towards spiritual discernments. Okay, so don't be wise guys and say, but I'm going to work every day and I don't want to. Okay, because I'm talking about spiritual discernments. What else, Johnny?
Kai from Holland is asking, should I say to myself in every situation I'm confronted with, there's none else besides him? Also, if I don't see it, is it an attitude or an understanding?
Look, when we say there's none else besides him, and I keep saying that to myself, you need to be cautious that it doesn't become a mantra and you all of a sudden give up on everything that you're doing. We need to understand that right now, if I don't see the Creator, I can't say there's none else besides him. This concept of there's none else besides him is a concept. what I have to do, according to my understanding and feeling right now, is to do everything in my power just like I'm doing it. Otherwise, you won't do anything. If you don't do anything, you won't have any discernments. You won't have any internal analysis material. So what you need to do with everything, okay, that you can, is to give it your best shot. Now, with respect to things that are outside of my control, okay, like the weather, like my neighbor's attitude to me, or I don't know, somebody scratched my car or whatever, it doesn't matter. All those things I don't have control over, so there's nothing I can do about it. So there is none else besides him. Okay, simply because I've got nothing to do with it. It's not in my control. I can't control it. If a brick falls in my head when I'm walking down the street, it's just not in my power. So what do we have to do? I have to look at life as things that I can do and things that I have no control over. And I focus on what I can do. But everything I can do now, I think like it's me who is doing it, and I have to do the best that I can and never leave anything into the hands of the Creator. He doesn't like that at all. Yeah.
Okay. Got some other questions here on sanctity. Hartwig from South Africa.
Yeah.
I think relating to an article that you were reading there, none else besides him, perhaps. He's asking, what is he is rejected from sanctity? And then Hartwig also asks, what is sanctity? Is the environment we're building together sanctity?
Okay, good. Once again, I'll give you guys another, and I'll repeat it one more time. When things are a little complicated, okay, and there are terms that feel a little airy-fairy, immediately start thinking of these things. There's the Creator. He wants to bestow. I'm a desire to receive. I want to receive, but we need to build this relationship between us. So here is the Creator, here is me, and here is our relationship. Okay? So sanctity is in this relationship if it's in order to bestow. Okay, so soul, this is our soul. Soul is called sanctity, but it's bestowal. Okay, you can't have a soul if you're in reception. Okay, the left rejects means that I have an egotistic desire and I can't do anything with it. So it's rejected. It means I put it under a restriction. I don't use it. And not using an egoistic desire is also called a correction. That's what it's talking about. Okay, so rejection means I have an egoistic desire in me, which I am refusing to use. It's rejected, okay? And that's also a correction. Why? Because I'm not using it. It's bad and I'm not using it. Later on, we will learn how to use it in order to bestow. But that's at a much higher level. Yep, Johnny?
They have some questions here that the friends are asking. Paratse from Zimbabwe is saying, how is it, two questions here, how is it from a corporal level that I can maintain my existence in Kabbalah? How many times will I have these descents? Then he's also saying discovering spirituality. Are you saying that it's necessary for this world to go through difficulties and turmoil? If so, then the wars and famine are made from him.
Well, everything is made from the Creator, okay? So no doubt about it. If you see any bad thing in the world, I mean, who created the world, right? The Creator created the world, right? So what, he didn't know what he was doing? He knew what he was doing. He knows what he's doing. At least we should hope so, right? So everything that's bad in the world is also from the Creator. Everything. However, what we need to do is we need to start judging things according to the goal, not according to how I feel. Because we're always going to feel bad if something bad happens. Or if I see something bad, the world has gone crazy, it's nuts, everybody's killing each other, raping each other, stealing from each other. There's nothing good, it's crazy out there. It's true. But if it wasn't crazy, nobody would ask the question, why are we living? We'd be like monkeys in the forest, never developing at all. We'd be scratching each other's backs all days and eating our fleas off. So the Creator wants to bring us to a very high level. So we have to first hit rock bottom. So we can say, whoa, that's really bad. It's really evil. Because if I see evil, I can look for the good. But if I don't see it, I'm not going to look for the good. So the Creator has to show us all the bad things in the world that can possibly happen, so that we can want to be in the good. It's a necessity. So now, if we're judging that towards the purpose of life, are all the bad things in the world really bad things? Or are they just tools for me to get to the good? So then we can say, well, there is no bad. The Creator is just helping us out so we can find perfection. Okay, so it's all a matter of changing the way you look at things. Our problem is we don't really know what the meaning of life is. And if we don't know that, we're in confusion all the time because life sucks. Okay? But if we start to understand that there's a purpose to life and that we can attain it, and then it's something really great, amazing, and exalted, then we can actually start to look at everything that happens to us with respect to that direction, that goal. And that will actually make us happy because we're going towards something really great and exalted. Right here, John, shoot, we've got last 14 minutes.
Okay, so we've got a couple more questions. Got some relating to spiritual work, Mutlu. Maybe we'll talk about those first. Jose Carlos from Spain, Portugal, Atiada, says, so everything that happens in a day-to-day life, even with people that don't have a point in the heart, is worked by the Creator. But then you cannot do work, spiritual work, in our relations with people that don't have a point in the heart. Then he asks, it's hard to know when it is spiritual work and when it's not spiritual work.
Only in the group it's spiritual work. When you're with the friends only. Okay, why? Because our direction is the same direction. With the people out on the street, they're not thinking like we're thinking. They don't want to attain spirituality. They don't want to treat you like a friend. What does a friend mean? Friend means I love you more than I love me. That's called a friend. Okay? So the people out there on the street want to suck our blood. And it's not their fault. This is how human nature is, and it's okay. So I can't do spirituality with them. I can only do spirituality with people who want to get to spirituality with me. That's why we need a special group, a special environment where we all see eye to eye. We understand that we're playing a game together. And this group becomes our laboratory. It becomes a simulation room. So in that simulation room, we can do all kinds of things and get all kinds of spiritual discernments because we all have a dot in the heart. Yeah.
Okay. Have some very good questions just come recently. Okay. Also, Parazzi asked on the same topic, how do I add onto my spiritual work from a corporal level?
You start integrating in the environment. That's the only way. So come to the lessons, the education center lessons. Where is he? Zimbabwe?
Yes, correct.
I don't know if there are any friends in Zimbabwe.
There's a group in South Africa.
Yeah. So there's a group in South Africa. So if you have an opportunity to visit them, go for a visit. If not, use the internet as best you can to make sure that you're surrounded with the activities that we do and the books and the lessons. So just stick with us, stick to us, to the group as best you can. Because a person is an outcome of the environment, guys. This is a known fact. So if we build ourselves a spiritual environment, we'll become a spiritual being. We'll start moving in that direction. Yeah.
Okay. We have a couple of questions here on intention, Mutlu. Neela from Serbia asked earlier, my intention should be, I want to change, ? Neela's very active on the Facebook as well. There's lots of questions.
Don't fix yourself. Okay, I'm not going to tell you what's true and what's wrong, what's right. I'll tell you one thing though. Keep on studying with us and you'll find that these things that you call intentions, thoughts, desires, they'll start to change as you study with us. So what might be right today, tomorrow you'll think, God, that was all wrong. And then the next day, what was right yesterday for you is going to be completely wrong again. So there's no need to tell somebody that this is right, this is wrong. Nope. The Kabbalists just say, come study with us. If you want to study, come study. And as you study, you'll see that things will change. Your intention now will change tomorrow. It'll be something else. And it needs to be like that. We constantly need to change so we can sharpen everything and clarify everything. This is why I'm not telling you guys how to do your spiritual work. I'm just telling you about the material. We're just going over the material and I'm opening up the material for you as best I can so you can use it to advance spirituality. But I'm not going to tell you what's right and what's wrong in your spiritual work. That's not what a good teacher does. Because through the study, you'll have your own development. You'll see that you on your own are different from everybody else. And everybody else is different towards you. And everybody else will have their own specific pathway of attainment. So there's no, it's not right to tell people that this is right and this is wrong. Study with us, you'll see things will happen, things will change, you'll change. Yeah.
Okay, Tatiana's got a couple of questions here, Mutlu. I think wants some clarification on what freedom of will is, etc., and our reaction in this world. First, she says, I noticed that by not reacting to an unpleasant situation, but trying to see the reason why this issue is, by looking at the root of the problem, the cause of it, so to speak, I noticed that it's much easier to respond and not instinctively react. I see that what divides us is opinion and habits. So I guess what Tatiana is saying is, are we in control?
I think that's just a comment.
Yeah.
That her own conclusion on that, and that's fine. And just like I've asked it, I just answered our friend before as well. You'll see that these conclusions that you have they'll change all the time because you'll be going through changes. Okay, so it's all good and fine. You're feeling like this at the moment. Tomorrow, when you go through changes and say, "Oh, that thing I was thinking about doesn't feel so right," that's also okay. Okay, yeah.
Okay. Okay, then Tatiana asks as well, how many senses are attainable for us in a physical experience or corporal existence?
How many senses? Well, we have 5 senses, if that's what you're talking about. 5 sensory organs. That's all. In addition to that, we're going to add a soul. We're going to build a soul, actually. We're going to make it from scratch, literally. Yeah.
Okay. Paul from the UK has asked, is the world perfect, but the will to receive spoils it?
No, the will to receive doesn't spoil it. The will to receive is the best thing ever. That's what we are. It's never going to change. We are a will to receive, and it will never ever change. We will always be a will to receive, guys. The only thing that's going to change is the intention. But we're never going to change. We're always going to be a will to receive. We are going to change the intention behind our will to receive. Instead of wanting to fulfill ourselves all the time, we're going to want to fulfill somebody else, and we're going to want to be fulfilled by filling somebody else. Kind of like a mother or a father taking care of their children. They're fulfilled because their kids are fulfilled. Yeah.
Okay.
But it's a good question, and a lot of people get this confused. This will to receive will always remain. This will always be remain. This is the creature. Okay? This is what we are. Hezi, can you show the picture, please? Thank you. Okay? This will to receive will always remain, guys. Okay? Never going to change. Yeah, John.
Okay, so and Jeff from London has asked, Mutlu, is the creator a intelligence outside of ourselves, or is he part of us? It's a good question.
The creator and us, we are separate. If we were, okay, it's the way you're asking is, there are two ways to go about it. Okay, on the one hand, the Kabbalists are saying we have to unite with the Creator. We have to reach adhesion with the Creator. On the other hand, if I reach adhesion with the Creator, do I exist or not? So first of all, we have to understand, just like I answered Paul was it? That there is the Creator, that's not going to change. And here's the desire to receive, that's not going to change. Our oneness with the Creator is the oneness in the intention. We are one in the intention. Okay? We are one there. That's our place of unity with the Creator. He wants to bestow to us, we want to bestow to Him, and that's where we are together. That's where we are as one. Because we have mutual love. But He's the Creator, I'm the creature, and it's always going to be that way. But our relationship is called unity, it's called perfection, it's called adhesion. Why? Because we love each other. That's called oneness, that's the intention. Okay, so we're going to be one there. And what is in us that's a part of Him is the dot in the heart. But from that dot in the heart, we have to build a soul. And we have to do that, not Him. Just like He created us out of nothing, we have to create our spiritual life, soul, out of nothing. Otherwise, we can't be like the Creator. Remember, the whole idea of the purpose of creation is to be like the Creator. If He created me out of nothing, what do I have to do? Well, I have to create the real me out of nothing. And that's what we're doing. And this is the only way we can attain the mind of the Creator. Because then we're going to do exactly everything just like He did when He created us. We're going to do the same thing when we're creating our spirituality. The attribute of bestowal. So He created us, we're going to create Him. When I say we're going to create Him, I'm talking about the attribute of bestowal. Okay? So He created us as a desire to receive out of scratch. We're going to create the desire to bestow out of scratch. And that way, we become just like Him because we created ourselves just like He created us. Yeah.
Okay, just a couple of messages, Mutlu. Firstly, there's a link there to the Facebook group. We encourage everyone to join the Facebook group, which is a really nice environment friends can discuss questions, get answers, etc.
Just
There's
don't
a
philosophize there, yeah?
There's a link there on the right-hand side at the bottom, Facebook. And then, Mutlu, we got some friends from Africa who are interested to come to the Congress here in February. So there's a question here. Some of us in Africa will require a visa to come to Israel. Can B'nai Baruch secure that for us, and how much will it cost?
We do help friends with visas coming here. As the date nears, there'll be a procedure for that. And Johnny, you're responsible for Africa, yeah?
I'm actually responsible.
So Johnny will probably, on the Facebook page, give some kind of a procedural document, and then you can follow that.
Correct. Right, okay. This question that came in here. Last question from Jose Carlos said, Did you notice during the time B'nai Baruch has been on there is a crescent number of people that wants to study Kabbalah? Has there been an increase, or maybe there's been a crescent means
an increase? Okay. Of course, there.
Through humanity, maybe we had more and more people coming to study with us.
I'll tell you what, look, has there been an increase in the number of people? Yes, of course. When B'nai Baruch started in 1995, so you're looking at like 20 odd years, it was a very small group. And as the years went by, people who were interested, they came along, and now we have a lot of friends from all over the world. Okay? But people who are really interested in Kabbalah and study Kabbalah have always been a minority, okay? But, and we don't know who's going to study and how much they're going to study. We just don't know. So the Kabbalists don't know either, okay? So they're saying, if you want to study, come and study. But we don't know who's going to stay. We don't know who's going to attain or not, and so forth. The important thing here is that if a person has a desire and he's serious and he makes a decision to get this done, then he can carry on all the time and work on his freedom of will to advance properly. The important thing, once again, guys, is that decision factor. Because if I'm sitting on the fence, okay, it's always going to be, airy-fairy. So just like in life, if I want to be successful at anything, I have to make a decision. To say, you know what? Good or bad, I'm going to get this done. Because I won't know unless I get it done. But I made a decision to do it. So Kabbalah is just like that too. You can't have 10 desires and have them all fulfilled. It'll all be half empty. So the Creator wants to make sure that we nail this, and we nail it properly. Now, I do believe... Do we have 3
more questions?
All right, going quickly then. We'll do a little...
We'll rush.
Yeah.
Okay. Hartwig from South Africa asks, what is the first step in creating our soul?
Stick your head in the group. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Arturo from Miami.
Basically, if you don't have a group right now, just keep studying with us. Okay, just carry on studying. Things will develop things as we go along. Yeah?
Arturo from Miami says, what would be the future of B'nai Baruch?
The future of B'nai Baruch will be, I'll tell you what it will be. It will be a group of Kabbalists who will teach humanity how to come to the purpose of life. That is the destiny of B'nai Baruch. Yeah.
Okay, last question. Tatiana from Florida says, am I right in understanding that everything is though thought creates things and we are vessels through which we create? I didn't fully understand the question, but maybe you do. Would you? Okay. Sorry, Tatiana. But I'll be trying to answer all these questions, all the questions which have been great. And it's also a good question. The power of the thought. And we are vessels through which we create.
We don't create anything at the moment. Okay, we don't. However, we have a potential to. But there is only one thing we can create, and that's the attribute of bestowal, which we call a soul. What we can do with our thoughts, and the only thing we can do with our thoughts, is find ways to grow that point in the heart so it will become a true desire. The thoughts, they assist our desires so that we can get what we want. So our mind works in a very simple way. If I want something, my mind will think about how can I get that thing that I want? Okay? And that's what thoughts are. So you think about what you want first of all, okay? And then you'll see that your mind starts to think about the thing that you want. All right? So, and that will bring you to actions, and actions will try to make us attain what we want. And sometimes we get what we want, but generally in life we don't. Okay? And that's why we're suffering and asking the question why. Now then, guys, we're already over 5 minutes, and
Answered all the questions.
and we've answered all the questions. That's great. So our next session will be next Tuesday. All right, we'll have our next lesson. I think lesson number 9. All right, so it'll be Johnny or Chris, me together, and we'll do our best. In the meantime, please stay active on Facebook. Please read the article. Shamati number 1 is an amazing article. I must have read it well over 100 times. You'll get something more out of it every day. And in the interim, have a great...
It's also on the internet,
Yeah.
Shamati number 1.
Yep, it's on the internet, on our website. So in the interim, have a great week and see you next time.
Bye, everybody.
Bye now.